Of course, with my little cowboy Jobu and Joe Bear in the house. And as always, I want to thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Jobu Sports Report. Without you guys and you ladies, this literally does not work. So let's get open for business here and let's wake up those football gods on this Monday morning. I hope you guys are doing great. I'm excited because we sit here 17 days, 10 hours, 34 minutes, and 40 seconds away from the draft. Yesterday, shout out to everybody who came through on our live stream. We did a Zoom in call test. What we're going to be doing for the draft this year, if you were part of our draft show last year, what we did because of the pandemic, Jerry Jones was out on his yacht, and each team, of course, had the social distance and things. And we were doing the same thing. It was actually me and Michael here at Jobu Sports Broke-Ass Media Studio. But we had about 40 or 50 of you guys that were Zooming in at various times during the program. So if you are a channel member, and if you have that channel membership, okay, not subscriber, but a channel member, you'll be able to call in and be part of the live stream that we'll be doing throughout all 3 days of the draft. We're going to be working and doing it from the outside. So yesterday was kind of like the test run to see how well it worked and to see how the picture looked and things like that. And we're going to continue. I still have a bunch more things to get to finally get it all together. I blew out one of my cameras because I was trying to hook up the wrong mic cable to the camera, and I've got to get another one, but we're going to be ready. So shout out to everybody that came through. We may do more. It was so much fun, actually, having conversations with you guys, that we may end up doing more live streams where it is a Zoom-in call for you fans and stuff, so that way we can, talk a little one-on-one and stuff, football, as we get ready for the draft. And don't forget, tune in tonight, 9 o'clock Eastern, because we'll be talking about what else, the draft, the Dallas Cowboys, and any other news that's going on, as well as giving away. This is our first two-tone Super Bowl trophy here. We'll be giving that away tonight as well, because of the great fans that we have that have ended up doing above and beyond super chats to donate trophies to people. Okay, so let's get into this. We got a couple of things that are happening. Now, I still believe there's something out there with KJ Wright, as well as some others. The big free agent signings seem to have at least the first wave of free agency has kind of waned. And I think now what's happening is, of course, teams are bunkering down, getting ready for the draft because, let's face it, it's a little over 2 weeks away, and they're focusing in on that. Now, here's the thing where May 3rd is the date. If you sign a free agent and you lose one, okay, let's say you end up losing a free agent that signs a big contract someplace else, that's where the compensatory picks come in. Reason why we have so many picks this year is because we've got 4 compensatory picks, because we lost Byron Jones, Jason Witten, and Randall Cobb, and Robert Quinn. Because they signed bigger contracts than what you signed in return, you were able to get compensatory picks. That's why we got a 3rd, a 4th, a 5th, and a 6th. That ends up helping you because, we ended up getting Dak Prescott with a compensatory pick because we lost to DeMarco Murray. That year we had 4 fourth-round picks. And they changed the rules in compensatory picks. It used to be you could not trade them, but you can. And here's what I kind of expect, because the Cowboys have actually 4 picks in the top 100s. We got the 10th, the 44th, the 75th, and the 99th. And I think you're going to see a lot of movement, especially out of the Dallas Cowboys. When you think about last year, and let me make sure I pull this up so I get the numbers right on it. Maybe I don't have it. Okay. So last year, here's what I want you to keep in mind here. At the time, it didn't make a whole lot of headlines other than the fact that the Cowboys and the Eagles actually made a trade. The Cowboys ended up moving up. They got the 146th pick from the Eagles, okay, the last pick in the 4th round, by sending them their 5th round pick from last year's draft, along with this year's 5th round pick. With that pick, they ended up reaching and grabbing Tyler Badish, a player apparently on their draft board that they definitely thought was a good player, and apparently so, because when Joe Leaney got hurt, Tyler Badish came in and played really, really well. And you look at him and say, yeah, he's possibly the next Travis Frederick. That was a great move. You got a starter out of there out of 2 fifth-round picks. We don't have that 5th round this year, but we gained a 5th round pick because of compensatory picks. And this is the whole recycling or rejuvenating of the roster, so to speak, of you let guys go instead of having to pay them the big salary, but you replenish the supply with more picks. And herein lies the thing. If you sign a guy before May 3rd, that will count as far as compensatory picks will go. So let's say, Andy Dalton's $10 million contract. If the Cowboys don't sign somebody in kind, then they can get a compensatory pick. So when you look at somebody like KJ Wright, where the Cowboys say, no, we're not really interested. This is still kind of a mystery to me because KJ Wright is a really good player. Now, there's a couple things that maybe are the reasons. One, he wants to definitely be a starter, and maybe the Cowboys say, we're not sure you're going to be a starter. We still have Van Der Esch and Jalen Smith. More than likely, though, he could probably start over one or both of them. The second thing is he wants a 2-year deal, and he didn't want to give a home team discount to Seattle. Thus, I want to get paid. I get that. The paying part, I'm not so sure would end up being the bigger issue. The bigger issue is if you pay him before May 3rd, then you're negating that possibility of a compensatory pick for Andy Dalton. So you'll see that second wave of free agency start right after the draft, after May 3rd, when that is no longer the case. If you sign somebody after May 3rd, then doesn't matter how much you sign them for. You can sign them for $100 million. You're not giving up a compensatory pick. And so you may revisit the KJ Wright situation there if he is not signed with another team. And that's where it's kind of still a mystery to me why he has not signed with somebody. But we'll see if that's the case. But here's the other thing, that when the Cowboys have had success, they've actually had success trading back in the past with the Travis Frederick situation. A lot of people laughed at the time when they traded back, drafted Travis Frederick, a center, because, people don't look at centers as first-round draft picks. But they picked up a 3rd round, which they used to get Terrence Williams. You have to say that that was a good move. So, to me, one of the possibilities, and it all, I think, will depend, because we talked a little bit yesterday on this, if the Cowboys would trade back. Well, if they trade back, it's not going to be something like you're going to see this week or next week or something like that. It would end up being a draft day scenario where, depending on how the draft is falling, depending on how these quarterbacks are going off the board, that it may end up being that maybe only 3 quarterbacks are drafted before the Cowboys, and a team like, say, New England. And New England would be the perfect trading partner for me. New England may want to look and say, oh, my God, one of the guys we wanted has fallen, and we can grab him with that pick. Let's trade with the Cowboys, our 1st and a 2nd and maybe a 4th or something like that, right? If that happens, then you still have an opportunity to get one. Possibly J.C. Horn could fall that far, maybe not, but Farley could be there. And the reports are that he's going to be fine. Be that as it may, then you now have the 44th and the 46th pick, 2 really high 2nd-round picks. Or you could say we now have 5 of the top 100 picks. That's great great draft capital. In my mind, you're now playing with house money. You could potentially, because you got 2 3s, you now have 2 2s, you got 2 4s, only 1 5th. You might be able to take a 2nd and one of those 3rds and possibly move back into the 1st. Possibly. Maybe not. It might take those 2 seconds. But if you ended up taking your 1st and 2 2nds and you got 2 first-round picks, think of how much you could do for this team, knowing that you still have 2 3s. And I expect to see the Cowboys go draft day movie scenario where they're going to be moving around and saying, the Cowboys are usually pretty good at targeting players that they deemed are pretty good. With the exception of 2017, for the most part, they've done well. That doesn't mean that every player that you drafted is going to be a Hall of Famer. Sometimes you've got the best player available, and they just end up being injury-ridden. That happens. That happens. And there's no rhyme or reason why one guy just happens to be more injury-prone than another. It just happens. But they made solid picks. Very rarely do we have, with the exception of maybe Taco, straight-out bust, or we just don't find starters in the draft. Because, let's face it, the Cowboys team has been built basically by starters. It certainly has not been by free agents. It has not. It has been built through the draft. And so I expect to see the Cowboys, with those 10 picks, really wheeling and dealing and moving around and targeting specific players that they want. Because when you have those 10 picks, not all 10 of them are going to be able to make the team. They're not. You can think back to some of the other years where we drafted guys like Bo Scarborough, where he didn't even make it out of training camp. But if you can package up some of these later picks and be able to move up and target a guy that you say, okay, we want that nose tackle. There's a guy there in the second round late. Maybe we take a third and a fourth and we move back up into the second and we grab that guy or something. But it's giving you the opportunity to really make an impact on this team. Now, let's face it, we got a lot of holes. And the draft is so fluid, you don't know who might be there. If I said to you this time last year that CeeDee Lamb was going to fall to us, you would have said I was smoking crack. You would have. But there he was, right there for us to snag. So you just don't know how this is going to work out. And I look forward to it because we're going to have fun with you guys as our studio audience. All right. I got lots of work to do in the workshop. Hope you tune in tonight, 9 o'clock Eastern, for our live stream. We'll be here. We'll be giving away another one of our Joe Barty trophies, and we'll be bringing you the latest news on the Cowboys, although I expect things to be really, really quiet between now and the draft for the Cowboys. Don't expect to see any major news. Oh, and one other final note. The 19th is another day you may want to circle on your calendar because that is the beginning of OTAs. We still don't have a definitive answer yet from the NFL on how they're going to do OTAs. The NFLPA says they want to do virtual reality ones. The NFL, of course, wants to do in-person ones. We don't know how that's going to end up happening or working out, but I dare say that one of the reasons why we had so many injuries last year was because of COVID. Because you had so many guys, and let's say you're a rookie and you just got drafted by the Cowboys and you literally just moved to Texas and you're living in an apartment. You can't go to the facilities to work out. The gyms are closed. How are you actually getting in shape? The NFL wants to have that control over those players. They want to see how the progression is going on these injuries and stuff and have their trainers and staffs working with the players. So I think the NFL will be adamant about trying to, maybe not the first couple of weeks, but having in-person workouts and trying to have mini camps, because a lot of the play on the field suffered because of lack of preparation as well as injuries. So we'll find out what happens on that one. But as always, I want to thank you guys for watching. Our coach here, and as always, I want to thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Jobu Sports Report.
You did one hell of a job, and the only thing else I got to say is